Welcome to this edition of Morgan He Asked For podcast. 21st of January. It's amazing. We're almost through January. This month, I feel like it's gone really fast. Iowa State men get back on track last night. Iowa State women get back on track tonight. I don't know if you saw that. Trevor just got over a few minutes ago. After 5 straight losses, they won by 25 tonight. Hawkeyes with a good win at Indiana, and then a good win against Rutgers last night. But big topics, national championship Monday, the implications of Indiana winning and going forward, what that might mean for college football. And then obviously playoffs, and then injuries, coaching changes, lots of stuff coming up tonight. We are going to start with college football. Indiana beats Miami in one heck of a football game. I thought it would be. I know the spread was 8, 7, 8, whatever it was. I thought Miami would hang in there. We both talked about their defensive line being super good and their defense in general, which it was. Their defense was good enough to win. That block punt for a touchdown was the game changer. Obviously, that's not on the defense. But Miami's defense was good enough. Just Fernando Mendoza in Indiana and Kirk Cignetti win the national championship. And in Bizarro world, they have 16-0 national championship, undefeated. And then they are also the last undefeated college basketball team in 1976. Indiana University is your national champions in football. Going into this year or last year, I can't remember which it was, they had the most losses in Power 4 football history. Kirk Cignetti has lost 2 games to the national champion in the title game last year, and then to Notre Dame, who played in the championship game. That is his only 2 losses at Indiana. Unbelievable story. There is not another college football story in our lifetime, probably in the last 50 years, that even remotely comes close to what Indiana has done in the last 2 years.
Yeah, there's nothing close to it. I mean, when we were younger, the only way Indiana could have won a national title in football is if you're playing NCAA on your PlayStation or Xbox. I mean, that's the only way it would ever happen. So it's still kind of weird to see Indiana as the national champs. It was a great game. Obviously, it felt like every time Miami got down 10, they came roaring back. So that was kind of the key number for them. Anytime they got down 10 points, they went on a quick drive or a long drive and then scored points. And Indiana, for the most part, they did have a drop in that game, maybe 2, I forget. And then what almost cost them on their final drive there, where they had 2nd and 1, is their offensive tackle had a false start, and it put them in 2nd and long, and they weren't able to pick up that first down at the end of the game, had to settle for the field goal. And, Miami, they would have had a chance to score there if they hadn't thrown that interception. So they were one of the least penalized teams all year, didn't have very many drops. They did have a couple hiccups in that game. There was some time management, too, where they had to use some timeouts that wasn't normal. So we talked about that. These are young athletes. We see it in professional sports, too. Those type of things happen in big games. So wasn't totally shocking, but probably one of the – it was a really good national championship game. Thankfully, it wasn't a blowout or anything like the Indiana, Alabama, or Oregon games were.
Yeah, it was. We've talked about this. It is professional. They are professional now. They're getting paid. But they are not. They're adults, but I'm going to say they're not grown men like in the NFL. That's the difference. They still are. Now, some of them are 23, 24, 25, like Kurt, or Beck, the quarterback for Miami. But most of them are 21, 22 years old. There are some real young kids on the team. They don't play necessarily a lot, but that's the difference. They're not grown men as professionals. They're young adults as professionals. So there still are those mistakes. They do rely a little bit more on their coaches telling them every little thing to do. That is the difference in the NFL. And then they're just not as good of football players. I was listening to something, and the biggest difference in college football and the NFL is the D-backs, the corners in particular. The difference between just a good college corner and the elite NFL corner is striking how different they are and how much better the NFL corner is compared to a college corner. Now, Baker, the receiver for Indiana, 2 huge plays, 2 huge throws from Mendoza on a 4th down, and then the play to get him down before they had that false start. And that the guy that had the false start was lineman of the year, everything, All-American. And then also, I don't know if it was the same one, but another one of the Indiana linemen was on Notre Dame last year. So he's played for back-to-back championships.
Pat Coogan, the center.
Yeah. So, but just great game. Big Ten, 3 in a row, 3 different teams, which is important. The number of teams is important. You know, if Ohio State would have won 3 in a row, the talk would not be the Big Ten is the best conference. It'd be Ohio State's the best team, and who can figure it out. But it's Michigan, it's Ohio State, it's Indiana. You know, next year when you get into that conversation, it's going to be Penn State's going to be in that mix, and they were this year. It just kind of fell out. Penn State's got a chance next year to go 4 in a row for the Big Ten, and for them, they would be the other one. Now, Ohio State's going to be in the mix. I don't believe Michigan's in the mix next year, but Indiana is in the mix to win it all. And then USC is always just hanging around if they can get things to go their way. They've got all the tools. They just need a little bit maybe better coaching or just a little bit that next step in player.
Well, the team that's going to be under the most pressure and one of the favorites is going to be Oregon with more returning in their whole defensive line. They returned a bunch of players. So Oregon's going to be under the most pressure of any Big Ten team. Dan Lanning has been blown out 2 years in a row in the playoffs. So he doesn't have to necessarily win the national title, but if he goes up against one of the big dogs, Ohio State, Michigan, Indiana, whoever it is in the college football playoff, assuming they make it, he just needs to win the game, whether it's by 1 point or 30. He can't have another blowout, and they're going to be returning a bunch of starters. So the team under the most pressure, I mean, Ohio State's always under pressure. You could say that. But Dan Lanning and Oregon really need to prove themselves next year.
That was my bad. I forgot about Oregon. Sometimes I forget they're in the Big Ten.
But no, I mean, Penn State, we're going to talk about teams that are next and, you know, coming up. I just written down some odds. But, yeah, you know, 3 years in a row, 3 different teams. The Texas schools, the 3 Texas schools are obviously going to be in the mix next year as well. Texas, A&M, and then Tech, the 2 SEC, and then the Big 12 schools. I don't know, you know, really what Alabama or Georgia. I'm sure one of them or both of them might make the playoff, but those teams don't have the depth like they used to. And you can see it. The proof is in the results, and the talent spread out now with the current landscape of college football. Texas Tech, as we talked about this past year, this will be year 2 of the new program, the new idea, all the money. Brandon Sorsley coming from Cincinnati should be an upgraded quarterback for him. So we'll see if the LSU's, Bama's, and Georgia's can really hang around or they just get in and get blown out.
Yeah, what Indiana has done has shown that it takes people, and it also has shown that teams like James Madison, and I hope it's true because this is what Iowa State lived off of, getting in the portal. Players from lower levels, quote unquote, lower levels, are really, really good players. And when you get a little bit of experience playing young at James Madison or Tulane or North Texas, and there's other schools out there, South Dakota State, North Dakota State, the elite FCS teams would be on par with those teams as well. When you play 2 years there right away, and then you go to the big time, and then you get enough of the elite talent. That's what, you know, he brought most of those guys from James Madison, but then he went and got Mendoza. He went and picked out the lineman from Notre Dame, you know, with that Mark Cuban money. Now, that's the X factor. You still have to have that guy. You've got to have the money to go get certain guys to have a chance. Miami and Indiana are 2 of the biggest spenders in the portal, and that's why they're there. Now, it takes a lot more than just that. LSU spends a lot of money in the portal too, and they were nowhere to be found, which is why they fired their coach and went and got Lane Kiffin. But you have to have the money to go get who you need. But much like Iowa State this year, get that core group of young guys. And you know, the one D-back for Indiana, he was really, really good. But did you see how big he was? He's only 5'9". So that's why he was at James Madison to start or wherever he started. He wasn't the 6'2", 4-star recruit. Heck of a football player. But then you put him on one side, then you put a 6'2", 4-star on the other. Now you got a really good football team. And that's what Indiana did. And that's the roster construction. And that's what teams like Indiana, Iowa State, Iowa, they can do it to win. Ohio State, LSU, Alabama, Texas, Texas A&M, they're going to go spend the most money for every – they're going to go get the best quarterback, the best DB, the best D lineman. That's the difference. They're trying to go after the home run on every player. Indiana didn't go for the home run on every player. They went for a home run for a handful of players. And then the core, they knew Coach Signetti, and they knew what he wanted, and then they brought in some elite players around him. And when you have that core that's really good, and then you put the handful on each side of the ball of elite, then you got something. And that's what Signetti has done, and that's what everybody in the country is going to try to duplicate. But we're going to see if it works. And the patience, here's what Signetti did. He just fired a lot of football coaches in year 3 and 4 because teams aren't going to wait now. They know it can be done. Now, I think it's a special sauce. Now, I do hope Signetti stays, but it would be interesting if next Monday he takes the Raiders job. And if Indiana, Mark Cuban's already donated his money for next year. I saw him tweet that and say it. He's already donated the money. So they have the money, but if they have to go hire a new coach, if they can keep it going, if it is just the money and the structure, or is the secret sauce truly Kirk Signetti? That I don't want him to leave, but that would be the only intriguing thing is if he left and went somewhere, it doesn't even matter, or just retired. I'm out. I'm 60-some years old. I've made enough money. I'm done. I won a national championship. There's nowhere to go but down from here, which is at all 100% true. It would be interesting to see if Indiana falls right back into their old ways.
My prediction is he's going to stay. And then, of course, when you get the money, it's a combination of things. But you're right. They brought in some players from lower levels that did have experience. And then they went after the right type of guys with the money, guys from Notre Dame, team players. Because you can have all the 4- and 5-star recruits you want. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a great team. Josh Pate spoke about this last week. Speaking of money, he grew up in the South, and they were talking about University of Georgia. Obviously, Georgia has Delta Airlines and Coca-Cola Company in their backyard. He said the problem is, though, is those two companies are not necessarily donating a lot of money to the University of Georgia. Those companies have stockholders, CEOs, presidents, and decision makers, where if they have $5 million of extra money, they're not just necessarily giving it to the football program, but they're reinvesting it into the company to make their company better. Whereas Mark Cuban, he's a made man. If he wants to donate 5 or 10 million, he can, and then he can keep doing all his other endeavors that he has going on. So just because you have big companies in your backyard at these universities doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the money, though, either.
No, you need the family that invented Coke, the great-grandson or wherever it is or whoever it is. They need him to donate that money, not Coke. That's what Cody Campbell, whatever company he founded or started or still has or sold, whatever it is, Cody Campbell's the one that's funding Texas Tech. Mark Cuban is the one funding Indiana. And you can go on and on with other schools, but Coca-Cola is not going to donate a lot of money. Now, FedEx donates a lot of money to Memphis, but it's the Smith family. And that's, and honestly, I don't even know. I'm assuming FedEx is public, but I really don't know that. So it could be still private. It's private people that have to donate this. Not technically, but I own Coke stock actually. So I wouldn't be happy if some of my money's going to Georgia when it could be back at a dividend to me. Overall, I'd be fine with it. And I have zero say in it in my 4 shares or whatever I have of Coke stock. But I actually did buy some Coke stock not that long ago. It's kind of funny.
Well, I'll try to keep that stock up for you as much as I drink.
Oh, I do too. I drink a lot of diet. When I don't drink a lot of pop, but if I do, it's Diet Coke for sure. It's kind of like the Dos Equis. I don't drink beer all the time, but when I do, it's always Dos Equis. Most interesting man in the world. No, but just a great college football season. They've got to figure out the calendar. Now, one thing I want to talk about, Friday is a deadline for changing the playoff next year. It can go to 16. I think actually it could go to whatever they want as long as it's an agreement. Big Ten, SEC wants 16 teams. Big Ten wants 24. They're okay with going to 16 for the next couple of years, but in like 3 years or 4 years, they want it to go to 24. I think the Big Ten overall wants to get away from the championship games and more like that championship Saturday that's been talked about where it's, 1 versus 2, 3 versus 4, or, maybe 1 and 2 don't play, but 3 and 4 trying to get into the playoff. However you want to do it or whatever number, it doesn't really matter, but they want a championship Saturday. And, it would be, if you go 24 teams, I mean, just in round numbers in my head, you're going to have 8 teams from the Big Ten. You're going to have 8 teams from the SEC. You're going to have, 3 teams from the Big 12, 3 teams from the ACC, and then kind of a few, the 1 year it might be 4 from the Big 12 and 3 from the ACC and 1 group of 5 team, or might be vice versa, but it's going to be roughly half the teams are going to be Big Ten, SEC, and then the other half is going to be everybody else.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they settle on. I haven't really read up on it as of late. It's been a while since I've been keeping track of what they're arguing about. But yeah, I've seen some things where obviously the 1 and 2s they just wouldn't play on that championship week, and then you might have a 3 versus 6, a 4 versus 5 type of deal to get in and seeding and all that. No matter what they go to, though, hopefully they go first and second round on campus. I think everybody's us fans are in total agreement of that. Now the TV networks aren't necessarily in favor of that in some of these stadiums that are going to get the games, but all fans want the first 2 rounds to be on campuses.
Yeah, at least everybody get it. And if you go 16, I don't even think you don't even need bye weeks for that. I think you just go 1 versus 16 and just like a NCAA tournament bracket, and then the top 8 teams get a game, and then the quarterfinals again would be on campus, and the semifinals and finals can be wherever. But yeah, you look at Indiana fans now; they're a little bit different because they've never been there before. So there were fans that mortgaged the house and did whatever, and I don't blame them. Probably not the smartest financial move, but they had to go to the Rose Bowl, then they had to go to Atlanta to the Peach Bowl, and then they had to go to Miami. That's a lot of travel. There's not really very many people that can afford to do that. If you would have given them at least that first game at home and just had to make a trip to Atlanta and then a trip to Miami, it is what it is. But that first trip, now, obviously everybody wants to go to the Rose Bowl. I think there should be, and I'm old school and I'm old, gray, championship game would be awesome if it was every year at the Rose Bowl. That's just me personally. I know the actual Rose Bowl stadium isn't that good anymore, but it's 90,000 seats, so it's way bigger than a lot of the stadiums they're playing it in, so more people could go. It is the granddaddy of them all, and I know that's just a marketing term, but it has been around for 100 years. It has signified the best in college football forever and ever. True or rumor mill, but that's what it symbolized. And then play that on January 1st at 4 o'clock every year, and then figure out the calendar. It's one of those like schools, and I think they've done a little bit better job, needs to be school gets out the Friday before Memorial Day, and then work yourself back and figure it out. And that's what the college football needs to do. And then you can open the portal on January 2nd through the 15th. Everybody goes back to – you can do all that stuff. Everybody goes to school right around Martin Luther King Day, and it works out. I don't know why it's so hard, but money gets involved.
Yeah, and I'm also being at the Rose Bowl every year. I'd be perfectly fine with that. It's one of the great settings. Obviously, if they agreed to that somehow, they could make improvements to the stadium. I mean, It's got
college football is unlimited. Checkbook is unlimited. College football playoff
just
is
like and
they did
some improvements. It's got a bunch of tailgating lots there. Now it's difficult to get to, but for teams that are going to the national championship game, it's a once in a lifetime trip. So you figure it out. That's you're not going to let that stop you from going. whether you got to stay at a hotel an hour away, it is what it is, or people drive out and bring their campers or whatever it might be. But I'm in total agreement with you. I'd like to see the national championship at the Rose Bowl every year, and then the first 2 rounds at campuses on site, and then the final 2 rounds or whatever, you can play them wherever, at the Peach Bowl and the Sugar Bowl and all those different locations.
Yeah, because it is weird that Indiana won the Rose Bowl, won the Peach Bowl, and the national championship. So they actually have like 3 trophies, I think. Don't you think?
Yeah, they do. I mean, that's if you did that, at a lot of schools in a 10-year period, that'd be a hell of a run. They did it all in 1 year. They did it all in like 3 weeks or whatever, 4 weeks, or whatever it was.
Yeah. And I know we kind of hit on it, but the future of college football, and I talked about this, I want to hit this before we move on. Jimmy Rogers met with the media today at Iowa State. The schedule came out. The Big 12 released their schedule. Jimmy Rogers sat down with Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic, and I saw it was Bill Seals with Cyclone Report, Rob Gray with Cyclone Fanatic, and he also writes for the Cedar Rapids paper. So he sat down one-on-one with media today, so it's going to get out. We talked about that. He's been closed off for a month. Now it's time. School started. Everybody's back in session. His team is there. They released the roster. It was kind of interesting. They released the roster, their numbers, and then kind of by position groups. They understand that no one knows this team. And so they're doing their best. And they showed a clip from, he had a meeting Monday night, the night before school started and everything, when everybody was coming back. And if you just glanced, and today in the interview, he wears all black hat, Iowa State logo. It's not as dirty as Campbell would always wear, but black pullover or quarter zip, whatever he had. I think he had a quarter zip on today. Just if you quick glanced at that team meeting, you would think it was Campbell. I don't know if that's now a requirement for the Iowa State coach to wear black, or if that's what he likes to do previously, like if he wore all black at Washington State and South Dakota State. I have no idea. The one thing I have noticed during the interview today, though, he had chew in his mouth. It's awesome. He's just a football guy. He's not a media guy. Campbell is so professional, always had to be right, all coach speak. This guy's a little bit more, I'm a football coach. Yes, I understand I have to do this, and I do it to the best of my ability, but it's not this isn't what I'm here for. I'm here to coach football. Campbell was, his hair was always perfect and slick. He had tan, things like, it's just the difference in people. And I just thought it was interesting from coaches that I grew up knowing and everything, just chewing the side of their mouth, talking. And it was awesome. Some people, just like when he's yelled F the Hawks and stuff, people didn't like that. Now he's got chew in his mouth during the interview. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's good that fans finally got to hear from him, see what the rosters are, because it's tough to keep track of with any of these schools, especially for Iowa State, Washington State, JMU, some of these other schools that have had a lot of turnover the last few years, whatever the case might be. So it's good to see the roster, the numbers. You kind of get an idea of how many players you've got at each position group, maybe where you're a little bit stronger, where you're a little bit weaker. And now at least you kind of have a starting point of what the team looks like. And, the more you hear from him, and then once a depth chart gets out and these finalized transfer portal people get figured out, because I know the players that played in the national title game, I believe they had 5 days after that was over. So once that all gets finalized, it kind of paints the picture, like I said, a little bit, and you have a starting point of what your team's going to look like.
Yeah, Iowa State's done as well as you could imagine with what they were dealt. They have 55 new guys, which is not counting the freshmen. And then there's, I think, 17 total freshmen, and 8 of them are on class, came early. So that's good. Some guys that had already signed with Iowa State that stayed. And then obviously brought some signees from Washington State. But, another great season. I think on Monday he said it's 229 days till September 5th when they kick off against Southeast Missouri. So We're at like 225 days till college football. We're counting down the days. I need a calendar check off every day because that's, kind of my wheelhouse, football in general. We're winding down. We only have 3 more games, 2 on Sunday, and then obviously the Super Bowl. And let's transition to the NFL. And this is an argument on the calendar between the semifinals of football, college, and the championship game. There were 2 full rounds of the NFL in between it. The wild card weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then Saturday in divisional round. Great football games. There's only one game that, got out of hand, and that was the Seahawks and 49ers. No real need to talk about that game. 49ers are just done for the year. I mean, everybody's hurt, is what it is. Seahawks 41-6, I believe, was the final. No need to talk about that one. Let's go to the other NFC game. Obviously, I was nervous wreck walking around, just biggest game at Soldier Field in years. They do it. It's like every time they play, they get down. Is that if the Bears would have won that game, and I do think this matters, if the Bears would have won the game, where does that play rank in the history of the NFL?
Well, it already ranks high just in general for that play made. If they would have won the game, I mean,
it jumps a lot if they win the game.
Yeah, I mean, you can make an argument. It's as far as play out, take the Super Bowl out of it, but just playoff plays in NFL history, it's probably got to be in the top 10, right? I mean, maybe even higher. I don't know. I'd have to really sit down and make a list. You've got the Clark catch with the 49ers.
Yep.
There's some
immaculate reception. I mean, that's the type of play we're talking about. And you're still going to talk about it, but since they lost the game, it's not as memorable.
It's not as memorable, but everybody's talking about it. I mean, every show's talking about it. I mean, there's Mahomes, Allen, Rodgers in his prime, Favre. I mean, those are the only guys that could probably make that throw right there, backing up. I think they said he was 5 yards further back than anyone else that's completed a throw like that in the last 10 or 15 years, whatever it was. So it was an amazing throw. And, for the Bears, part of what I text you, it goes for a lot of the games that we saw in Wild Card Weekend and then this past weekend. Teams got to start taking field goals in the first half of games because you don't know how these games are going to play out. Now, once you get to the second half, there's only so much time left. You kind of know, okay, we need 10 points, we need 14, 17, whatever it is. But in the first half, you think you have an idea of how the games are going to go, but you don't know for sure. And I really was surprised before the game of how many people were predicting it to be a high-scoring one, with it being as cold as it was. I bet the under. I bet the Rams under. I doubled up on that. I haven't been right about much this NFL season. I got the Seahawks winning their division, and then I got the under in that Bears-Rams game. That's about all I can hang my hat on this season. But with it being cold like that, I was just surprised how many people predicted it to be high-scoring. But again, field goals in the first half, and I think the Lions made going for it on fourth down really popular. But there's 2 differences. The Lions, they had to have some kind of identity because they were one of the worst franchises in history. So they kind of hung their hat on that. Also, the majority of the Lions games were played indoors in a controlled environment. And going for it on fourth down in a controlled environment is much easier when it's single digits and the feel-like temperature is close to 0 degrees outside.
Yeah. And then in that same vein, I just think, and teams go for two too early as well. Yes, I understand, when I coached, I had the 2-point chart in my pocket too. Didn't have to pull it out a lot, but in certain situations you wanted to look at it. Should you go for 2 or 1 or whatever? But, if it's the first half and you're down, 2, it's okay to still be down 1. And then as you said, then all of a sudden looking down, now you're kicking a field goal to win it. Or now you only need a field goal you're down 3 instead of 4. So you can kick a field goal to tie it. Like you said, you never know how the game's going to play. Just get points and give yourself a chance at the end. That's all you just have to stay in the game. And the Bears are the perfect example. They just about did it for the 8th time this year, trail and score and win a football game in the last 2 minutes. It is amazing to me at how efficient offenses are. And we've talked about it on here, and I talk about it with everybody. I lost because I thought Texas Tech was going to do it in the playoff game. I lost money to you and Brett, but in the last 2 minutes of a game, it is amazing the efficiency of offenses compared to the other 58 minutes of a game. I mean, it's even Miami when they got the ball back with 150 and no timeouts. You knew they were going to have a chance. He threw the pick at the 10-yard line. They had a chance. Offenses when they want to can get yards, and then it just comes down to make a play at the end. But the defenses will give them opportunities to get down the field, and then it's just, can your guy make a play? And getting back to the play to force it overtime, it's not so much that he threw the ball up, it's how open the receiver was. It wasn't even a jump ball that he had to go beat. It was right in his hands, and there wasn't a defender around him. That's what was crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, he got away from his coverage. The tight end caught the ball. I mean, it was just a great play. And then, there's people thinking that you got to remember two things. One, that's one of the craziest plays of all time, so it's tough to get your team organized for a 2-point conversion. And also, all their short yardage plays in that game weren't working. So
they couldn't get anything going.
I actually agreed with kicking the extra point going overtime. And when you think about it, they stopped the Rams. They got the ball back. And then I'm going to talk about this play I had it written down on my computer here. They got to midfield or just past midfield, and then they ran that pass play. And DJ Moore looked like he was jogging on his route. And Nick Wright, I think yesterday, kind of made me laugh because someone was explaining it was a new route concept or something. And he goes, well, what route concept calls for jogging on a pass play, at the end of a game to go win it? So and earlier in that game, I thought DJ Moore kind of got dinged up. I don't know if he had a concussion or what, but if he didn't have like a concussion or an injury on that route, it's tough to walk back to that locker room because, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they move on from him with a play like that. You can't. I mean, it's a chance to go to the NFC Championship game if you catch that ball because they would have been in field goal range, and it looked like he was jogging to me. I mean, I think.
Well, and even if he doesn't make the catch, if he's going after the ball, that guy doesn't catch it because he made a heck of a catch with no one on him. I mean, it was close to not being a catch anyway. So even if he's diving for the ball, that guy's not making the catch, and then you live to play another down. But and going back to that situation, when that interception happened, and I think who was calling the game? Was it Brady? No, it wasn't Brady. It was
Collinsworth and
it was Tirico and Collinsworth. But Collinsworth talked about it. The Bears defense, hey, we did our job. Our offense is going to go down and win the game. You take a breath, and now all of a sudden you got to go back. And he talked about the Rams went kind of hurry up, no huddle. Super smart by Bayer Stafford or whoever decided to do that, because the Bears defense has been like, hey, we did our job. We stopped the Rams. We got our offensive ball. They're going to go win the football game. We're going to the championship game. And they exhaled. Our night's done. We did it. And then all of a sudden you got to go back in there, and it wasn't quite good enough.
Yeah, a few plays here and there, maybe take a field goal in the first half like we talked about. But, as I text you, the future is really bright. I mean, and the Bears, I'd have to go to double check their draft picks. I assume they have 7 this year, like every team starts with. Then there's trades, of course. Some team ends up more and less. But I wouldn't be surprised if they spend at least 5 of their 7 draft picks on defense because their offense is mostly set. They've got at least 4 legit offensive linemen, maybe 5 for next year. They've got good depth at receiver. They've got 2 tight ends, 2 backs. They've got the quarterback. So they can really go heavy on defense in the draft.
And a lot of people, and I'm one included, could not believe they didn't draft Warren out of Penn State as their tight end. Not that Warren's not a good player, but we might actually got the better guy. So kudos to the staff, Ben Johnson, scouting staff, whoever decided that he was better, or I didn't even fit their system better, or they picked the right guy. And that was he did not play towards the end of that game. He got hurt, and that was a big deal. They had to go to DJ Moore or other receivers, Cole Kmet, who's really good, obviously caught the game tying catch. But Loveland would have been a real nice piece to have in overtime, and they didn't.
Yeah, he really broke out the second half of the season. He's going to be a monster for him, a great pick. And then, Luther Burden out of Missouri was another one that's good for him. So, like I said, the offense is mostly set for the Bears. I'd have to double check what their cap situation looks like.
Yep.
I'm sure they can bring in a couple free agents, but they can go heavy on defense. And the good thing for them, just like the Patriots, the Broncos, potentially the Giants who hired Harbaugh, is they've got the quarterback on the rookie deal. So that gives you a good window. So the Bears, Broncos, Patriots, I mean, for the next 3 years, those teams should be pretty competitive.
Yeah, and that is right now, that's the recipe. Rookie deal, quarterback, good coach, and then a whole bunch of really good players. And the 49ers did that until now are getting them. Everybody's a little bit older. They got to let a guy like Debo go just because they're signing. It's that rookie deal out of quarterback is so beneficial, and we're seeing it over and over and over again. Let's go to the coaching carousel in the NFL.
Well, we got to talk Broncos, Bills.
Okay, all right. That's
one we got to talk about.
Okay,
because there was a lot of Josh Allen stuff I talked about last week, and there's going to be some more here this week. A couple things on that game. I talked about Allen doesn't really turn the ball over last week. Well, he did this week. There was two I did. The final throw that was an interception. The throw was perfect, actually. But that was a hell of a play by the defensive back. And my way of looking at catches or interceptions is I call it football common sense. I just watch the play, and is it a catch or not? Now, I know you can't do that as a referee. It's got to be a little more black and white. But to me, and I'm someone that bet the Bills before the season, I would have called interception there. I would have given the interception to the Broncos. So I think it was the correct call. It's a heartbreaking way because the receiver's got to come down with that ball. That ball was actually really well thrown. The two turnovers that disappointed me the most was the fumble before halftime. There was nothing good could have come of that. You call the play, and you hope for a broken coverage. It wasn't there. Once Allen takes off, he has to know nothing good can happen.
Right.
And the second to worst thing did happen. He fumbled. They kicked a field goal. The only thing worse is they could have scooped and scored.
Right.
And Allen's got to know that. He's not a first or second year player. He can't be careless with the ball in that situation. Nothing good could happen, and nothing good did happen. They lost 3 points there. Then that could have been the difference in the game, right? When they went down before regulation, that could have been to win the game. And then when Bo Nix threw the interception to the defensive lineman, the Bills get it back, and Josh throws a interception a couple plays later, I think it was, down the field, and they were up 7. That's another situation where if they could have just got a few yards, maybe 10, kicked a field goal and gone up, 2 scores. So a little disappointed in Josh in that game for sure. And then Bo Nix gets injured. So if you're not a fan of any of the AFC teams, you almost feel as a fan, and I'm not talking with the refs, but it's like most people wanted the Bills to move on. They didn't. The Broncos move on, but now their quarterback's hurt.
Yeah.
So in championship weekend, I've told you this, a lot of people like divisional weekend is their favorite weekend of the NFL playoffs. Mine's championship just because of the pressure to get to the Super Bowl. It's ramped up. And this year, we'll see what happens with that Broncos-Patriots game, which we'll get into. But, it's disappointing that it happened. And then I did want to talk. There's a lot of people selling their Josh Allen stock right now, and I wish it was a stock like Coca-Cola because I'd buy it all up right now. And I just wanted to go through a few guys. Josh Allen's playoff record right now is 8-7. Now, he doesn't have a Super Bowl. Would you say 8-7, one game above 500, do you think that's great, poor, or do you think that's in line with a lot of all-time greats? Pretty close.
Oh, it's probably pretty close overall. He's getting compared to Dan Marino and stuff like this right now. Dan Marino doesn't have 8 playoff wins, I bet.
Well, I'll go through this real quick. Now, there's the outliers. There's Brady, Mahomes, Montana, like the Bart Starr, and Terry Bradshaw's. Their winning percentage is crazy good.
Yeah, they've got multiple Super Bowls.
Those guys are on a different level, but these guys I'm going to name here, and all of them but one have a ring. So he does have to get a ring, but I just wanted to go with their playoff record. Peyton Manning is 14-13 in the playoffs, one game above 500.
Yeah, he's got 1 ring. Yep.
2. He's got 2.
Oh, he's got 2. Yeah, the second one. Yep. I bet
Brett Favre is 13-11, 2 games above 500.
Eli Manning's is under 500 Bulls.
His playoff record's above 5. You're thinking of his regular season record.
Okay.
Playoff record. Aaron Rodgers is 11-11 in the playoffs, 500.
Yep.
Josh Allen's 8-7, 1 game above 500. Russell Wilson's 9-8, 1 game above 500. Drew Brees is 9-9, 500 quarterback. Dan Marino's 8-10. Steve Young was 8-6. Now again, some of these guys have Super Bowls, so I understand that, and one last thing to pay attention to here is Josh Allen's going to turn 30 next year. Peyton Manning didn't win his first Super Bowl until he turned 30, and he was 3-6 before he went on that playoff run with 4 straight wins to win his Super Bowl. So we live in this microwave world where everybody wants results. And again, if Josh Allen doesn't get to one or doesn't win one, then it will be legit. But his book is not written yet. So if he was a stock, I'd buy it all right now because you could buy it low with everybody.
Oh yeah, I agree.
But his playoff record, again, one game above 500 is kind of in line with a lot of legends. Again, the Mahomes and the Bradys are on a different level. They're the outliers. But his playoff record, it's being overblown a little bit. And he did have an atrocious game. I can't deny that. But depending on who they get as their next coach, which I know we're going to talk about some of the coaching hires and candidates, I'm not ready to sell my Josh Allen stock at all.
No, I wouldn't either. It's going to be interesting to see who their coach is. Much like we talked about Matt Campbell in the Michigan job opening right after he took the job. Is John Harbaugh just a little bit like, gosh darn it, or not?
Both him and Kevin Stefanski, who hired with the Falcons, they both signed before that. The Bills news came out today or the other day, and then of course all the stuff. I don't know if you saw what was going on with the Bills today. They're imploding from within.
Well, and that's the other thing. Initial, I think they are like, darn it, but now you're looking at it and seeing what's happening. You're like, well, maybe I don't want to go work there.
Yeah, for those that don't know, the GM and the owner had a press conference today, and the owner basically came out and said that their general manager didn't want Keon Coleman, and the coaching staff did, and there was a lot of blame going around in a power struggle right now, which is never good. And Keon Coleman's still on the team, and speaking of him, I mean, he was a high draft pick, and there was multiple games this year he was a healthy scratch. He didn't even dress. I mean, that's pretty alarming for a player that was selected as high as he was. I wouldn't be surprised if they release him, trade him, or if he's on the team next year, because obviously you hope he turns into a good player and gets it fixed, because he's a cheap player right now and he's talented. Yeah. So you hope that he could turn the corner, but I don't know if this is going to help saying that publicly to the media. No. That's stuff you say behind closed doors to him. Like, hey, bud, and he probably knows he's on his last legs here with the Bills, but you hope this is just a little bit of a hiccup for the Bills and not like a permanent or a constant thing that's going on there. Because over the last 8 or 9 years, they've been well run, or at least it seems like they have been.
Yeah, I think McDermott has the most wins in the last 9 years of any coach. I believe. I think I heard that. Besides probably Andy Reid would be my guess.
Yeah, he's got to be right up there because they've been in the playoffs, I believe, every year with Josh Allen. Or I don't know about his rookie year. I'd have to go back and double check that. But anyway, they've won a lot of games, like you said, with McDermott. So it did feel like it was time, because they just always find ways, whether it was Josh Allen playing poorly this time, or the 13-second game, or there's been some games where the defense has not performed. So it did feel like it was time. I don't know who they're going to bring in. Brian Daboll's being mentioned. You kind of know my thoughts on him. I'm not completely sold on Brian Daboll. Now, Josh Allen did have some of his best years.
Yeah, I'd say he was the O coordinator under him, or for him.
So we'll see if he gets the job. I mean, people are bringing up Belichick, Mike Tomlin. I don't know if that's really an option. There's a lot of rumors that nobody in the NFL really wants him. He just kind of wore out his welcome. He's burned a lot of bridges with people around the league, type of deal. So we'll see who they hire. I mean, like you said, Harbaugh went to the Giants. Robert Saleh did get hired by the Titans. I thought the Steelers would really give him a look. Stefanski to the Falcons, Jeff Haley to the Dolphins. And then a couple things today. Eric Bieniemy's going back to the Chiefs as the OC. And Patrick Mahomes' numbers with him as an OC are completely night and day difference since he's been gone. So that could be a good thing for them. And then sounds like Mike McDaniel is going to be
the Chargers. Yeah,
if he doesn't get a head coaching job. It does sound like he's in play for the Ravens. Obviously, if he gets offered the Ravens job, I mean, he's definitely going to take that over an OC. But that would be a big get for the Chargers. I mean, if that happens, Justin Herbert's run out of excuses. You and I both like him. But after about your third or fourth playoff game, you are who you are until you prove otherwise. Football's a small sample size sport. So 3 or 4 playoff games is enough to kind of start drawing some conclusions on guys, even though he's got another 10 years left probably of playing. But if they do hire Mike McDaniel, Herbert's running out of excuses.
Yeah, the other one I saw, Brian Flores signed an extension unless he gets it's one of those unless he gets a head job.
Correct.
Which is very understandable. They head job, you're going. But if he doesn't get the head job, he's going to stay with Minnesota, which is a huge get. Is there any way would O'Connell go to Buffalo? Would they try to? He's a quarterback guy. I think you would have to at least kick. Maybe never even make the call, but wouldn't you have to at least bring his name up in a conversation of who could get this franchise to the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl? He'd have to be in that conversation, wouldn't he?
Yeah, if you're the Bills or the Ravens, you have to be calling Minnesota to see if they'd consider it.
Right.
You got to make the call and make him tell you no, or make him tell you no, however it would work out. Because people have been bringing that up too. I think you have to explore all options. If you have a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, you have to consider anybody and everybody that you think can get them over the hump. As they go toward the back nine of their career, because Josh Allen doesn't miss any games. He's been a lot healthier than Lamar has, so I'd rather go with the Bills. But does he have 4 prime years left? 5, 6? It's not 10 probably. He might play another 10 years, but as far as his prime football goes, he might have 4 to 5 years left. So time is ticking for both those quarterbacks.
Yeah, you have to make the call to O'Connell, I think. And I don't know how that all works in the NFL. Obviously they'd have to give up cash / draft picks, whatever. But then I think you have to call Tomlin. The downfall of him with the Steelers is quarterback, but they have the quarterback. So now it's just up to him to get the quarterback coach or coordinator to get him, and then maybe you hire Brian Dable as your coordinator. Just run it back with him. Let him, hey, you got the offense. You get Josh Allen. I'll take care of the defense and go. I don't think that's a bad play, but obviously you're going to have to give some compensation to the Steelers.
Yeah, because they still own his rights, so there'd have to be some draft picks going to Pittsburgh there. Yeah, Tom would be a really good option. You bring in, like you said, maybe Dable as an OC, whoever for DC. That's kind of Tomlin's specialty is the defensive side of the ball. So, and when Tomlin had prime Big Ben, they were very good. So this would kind of be a similar situation where he would have a quarterback with, like I said, another good 4 to 5 prime years left and maybe 10 total years left. So yeah, Tomlin, they definitely have to reach out to him. And like I said, they have to explore any and all options at this point.
All right. Anything else in the NFL that you want to get to before we talk about next week? Or I guess it's in 3 days now, but
no, I think that's probably good. We can kind of preview the 2 championship games. The first one is obviously Patriots at Broncos. Looks like it's going to be about 27 degrees last I checked. I don't know. The wind could be a factor. We'll have to see. That I know the wind's crazy in Iowa right now.
It's unbelievable here. I'll be honest. It is blowing hard, and it's not super cold. It's cold, and the wind's obviously making it colder. But Friday morning, wind chill factor is going to be like minus 35 degrees. We already don't have school. We're doing a virtual day. I'm sure other schools are going to follow suit, but Friday is going to be absolutely nuts.
I'll be thinking about you guys. I'm going to be down in St. George, Utah. It's going to be close to 60 degrees. So you guys enjoy that cold weather. But brutally, it's a good weekend to stay inside and watch sports. That's for sure. And there are some, obviously there's basketball going on too. But about 27 degrees, give or take for kickoff, cloudy. If it's not windy in Denver, then it should be pretty ideal weather as far as this time of the year is concerned, especially in Denver.
Yeah, probably better weather in Denver than New England would be my guess. Actually, I'm pretty sure it is. I think New England's supposed to get smashed with snow and wind and this cold. So better. Now this game, if Bo Nix was playing, this would be one heck of a preview / I think it'd be a heck of a game. Now, I do think it's going to be closer than people think because Sean Payton's really good at his job. And these guys are NFL players, and Stidham, as long as he doesn't make huge mistakes, will keep his team in. Denver's got one of the best defenses in the league. They're going to be okay. I do think the Patriots win. That's my pick. but this game is closer than a lot of people think. That's my prediction.
Yeah, right. My prediction right now is Patriots 23, Broncos 17 is kind of what I've written down.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say, though, is a couple things. Drake May's had a bunch of fumbles so far in this playoff, and Denver can pressure the quarterback. I think they led the league in sacks, pressure rate, and then hits after the pass. So after the quarterback throws the ball, they're still getting to him. That could be a problem. And also the Patriots haven't played Drake May, I should say, and these younger guys haven't played on the road in the playoffs. Coming to Denver, it's a mile high. So there is a world where Denver does pull the upset here, even though they're at home, they're on their backup quarterback. And Stidham just has to don't have any turnovers, which is easier said than done. But if he finishes the game with 0 turnovers, I think it'll be a one-score game either way.
Yeah, I 100% agree. He can't lose it. You know, he doesn't have to win it, but he can't lose it. Yeah. He's got to. He can't do what Josh Allen did and fumble it out of bounds and give the Patriots 3 points at the end of the half. That cannot happen, or Denver will not win, and it could get ugly. You know, if he turns it over 3 times, it might be a 3-score game.
Yeah, because I mean the Patriots' offense is their receivers are better than anybody thought coming into this year. They've got Travion Henderson, who's a home run hitter, and their Patriots defense actually been playing a little bit better than people realize too as of late. Now, last week C.J. Stroud really crapped the bed, and that was one thing we can maybe talk about that during the offseason. There's no way they can give him an extension yet. He's still got a year left plus a 5th-year option. So if you're the Texans, you have to let him play that out because he's regressed his rookie year. So.
Speaking overall of just all weekend, I'm 0-4. And obviously the Bears went flip coin, and then the Broncos, Bills went to overtime. So 2 of them were flip coin. I mean, you just flip a coin, whatever, and that's fine. And that was way wrong in the 49ers game. That was more my heart or my head than my heart. But I picked the Texans were better. Just C.J. Stroud was so god-awful that they lost the game. I do think the Texans are better than the Patriots.
It's close, but yeah, I mean, C.J. Stroud had one of the worst playoff performances.
And they still had a chance.
They still had a chance, yeah. It was a crazy game. So, yeah, that's why this Patriots-Broncos game, I think the spread, I forget what it was earlier, 5.5, 6.5, something like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've got about a 6-point game. But yeah, I expect Sean Payton to call a pretty conservative game plan in the first half. You know, if it's 10-3 at half, I think he'd be happy, even if they're down, because you know, anything can happen in the second half. Just keep it one score as long as you can, and then hope for Drake May to make a mistake. Your defense forces a fumble, maybe a special teams play. But yeah, if Stidham goes out and has 2 picks or a couple fumbles, you know, like you said, this thing could get out of hand though.
Yeah, because he just hasn't had it's all about reps. You know, if Bo Nix gets hurt in week 8 and he has led the team to the number 1 seed, even though he's fine. It's absolutely fine. But what do you have? 4 snaps, and one of them was a kneel down, I believe, this year. So no meaningful snaps, and just
if they win, he's practiced the kneel down at least.
Well, and hopefully doesn't break his ankle doing it. So do you think that actually was the injury during the kneel down, or was it hurt before?
It's tough to say. I know Bo Nix released a statement today, and there's a bunch of conspiracy theories going on when it actually happened. I don't know, but it just, like I said, it's unfortunate that the Bills and Josh Allen played as poorly as they did, because it would have been awesome to have them going to New England, right?
Right. Yep.
Unless you're a fan of these teams, I think most people wanted to see that game. And then with Denver moving on with the backup quarterback, it's kind of like, you know, do they have a chance? But, you know, maybe this turns into a Nick Foles situation where Stidham comes in, wins the game, and who knows? I mean, I wouldn't count it completely out. And I do have to be fair to a lot of people in the media. A lot of people are giving the Broncos a chance. So it's not one of those cases where everybody's just writing them off, you know, automatically.
Yeah, they are playing at home. Sean Payton's a Super Bowl winning coach. I mean, they've got a lot of good things going for them. Unfortunately, the quarterback injury is not one of them, but everything else definitely would lean Broncos' way.
Yeah, so hopefully it's a good one. I'm gonna lean Patriots too as of right now, and then we've got the afternoon/night game, Rams at Seahawks. That one looks close to about 40 degrees, maybe around kickoff, partly cloudy. Again, if there's no wind, it should be fine. The spread's 2.5 Seahawks are favored by 2.5. As of right now, I'm leaning Seattle. And then one stat to give you on the Seahawks, they are only allowing 15.8 points per game this year versus playoff teams.
Oh.
And that's the fewest since the 2013 Seahawks, who beat Peyton Manning and the Broncos in that route in the Super Bowl in New York. So this defense is the real deal, but they are going against a quarterback who's probably going to win the MVP and trying to go to his, get a second ring, which would put him in an even a more elite category if that was to happen. So I do expect this to be a 1, 2, 3 point game at the end of the day.
Yeah, this is gonna be one heck of a football game. These are these are the two best teams in the NFC. I truly believe that. I'm a Bears fan. I thought the Bears would win. They had their opportunity, but overall, these are the two best teams. And you've got, as you said, unbelievable defense. Mike McDonald knows defense, has the Legion of Doom back, boom, whatever you want to call it. But the Rams, I'm leaning the Rams in the 3-point win. And I just think Matthew Stafford, Sam Darnold has not proven it. He played really well last weekend, but he didn't have to do that much. And can he make the play? Last year, great regular season, but last regular season game, first playoff game, couldn't get it done when it mattered, when it was to get the 1 seed, and then obviously in the playoffs, couldn't get it done. Can he get it done? We don't know. That why I'm going to lead with the Super Bowl winning coach and a multiple Super Bowl coach. He's been there multiple times, and the Super Bowl winning quarterback as well. That's why I'm leading. It's not Seahawks are really good, but just inexperience gets them, I think.
Well, and I know I said I'm kind of leaning the Seahawks right now, but I know when I send my picks to Chris, I'm picking the Rams in that one. So I just know I'm the same as you. I'm going to go with the experienced quarterback and coach. That's just kind of how I always lean in the playoffs, or typically kind of how I lean with a lot of picks. So I know I'm saying Seahawks right now, but when it comes time to officially make my picks, and then year 1, 2, I'll be picking Stafford and the Rams. I just know how it's going to be. So it should be a good game. I mean, and one thing for the Rams too, on their kickoffs, you don't want to kick it to Seattle. I mean, that's their special teams. I mean, they can take any kick return or punt return to the house. So Raheem Shaheed is probably the best returner in the league, and I'd rather just kick it out of bounds and give the Seahawks the extra yards and make Sam Darnold and that offense beat you rather than the special teams. So if Sam Darnold does play well and beat you, you tip your cap to him. But I would definitely keep the ball away from Rashid Shaheed's hands as much as possible in this one.
Oh, absolutely. All right. Anything else, Trev? We're right at about an hour. Perfect timing.
No,
got our picks in.
Yeah, we got our picks. Next week we'll obviously cover these two games. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit of basketball.
Yep.
And I know you talked about a countdown to next college football season. I've actually got a countdown to some other things that are coming up too. You probably guessed some of them. We'll kind of talk about that next week. And we'll start talking about things that we have to look forward to after football's over, because it's 3 games left.
Yeah, 3 games, and then we can talk about the Olympics.
Yeah, Olympics, World Cup, and some other things that some things we like, some things maybe not so much, but there are some sporting events that are coming up this spring and this summer that should be kind of fun to look forward to.
Yeah, if the prices come down a little bit, I'm going to try to get to a World Cup game. I just think it's something I probably should try to go to the Olympics in 28 too, just because. But those are just as a sports fan, those are things you probably should do. But I don't know. But I looked, the World Cup's coming to Kansas City, so it's not very far away. But oh my God, they are expensive.
I could imagine those Indiana Miami tickets were expensive. So I could imagine this is close to the same, or regardless, it's going to be expensive. Hotels will be, if you go to,
I don't even need a hotel. I mean, I just
have to pull the camper down there and go get a camp.
Yeah, or I'll drive down and drive back. I mean,
right. You could do that. Yeah. But there's definitely some stuff to look forward to this summer, and we'll over the next few weeks we'll kind of cover some of those things too, especially with football ending.
Yep. So, all right. Thanks a lot, Trev, and we'll talk to you next week.
All righty. Have a good one.